Welcome to the broadcast today, where I'm going to be answering your questions related to authorship. Going to get started here in just a second. If you want to drop in a comment, if you can see this, if you can hear this, go ahead and drop in a comment, even if you're listening on the replay. That'll let me know as I see comments coming in that I can see what people are posting. And while that's happening, I want to set the frame for how this is going to go. So if you don't know, if you didn't see the email, what happened is I sent out a question asking, what were your questions in terms of the challenges that you're facing? And so I got flooded with responses. I have a lot to go through. And I'm certainly not going to get through everything today. Definitely not going to get to everything, even going down the road with the content that I create. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer questions that are most relevant to you. And what I mean by that is the way I'm going to answer these questions is based off of what I feel is going to help virtually any author. So if you hear a question, you go, well, this isn't really my question. This doesn't seem to apply to my situation. I invite you to ask yourself, how does this apply? How does this apply to your unique situation? And I can promise you, if you think in terms of principles, you'll find a way how whatever answer I give will apply to you. So I'm just going to do a quick check, see that it is streaming in the group, and then I'm going to go ahead and dive into the questions here. Do a quick tech check if you want to put in the comments here. Looks like we're good. Okay. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So in no particular order, one of the questions that came in, what are effective ways to build an email list? I'm currently running a giveaway, but the results are pretty disappointing so far. So I don't know what disappointing results mean, but I can tell you there's a few tricks when it comes to doing a giveaway. Okay. And a giveaway could mean a couple different things. It could mean you're giving away your book for free for people to sign up. It could also be a giveaway where you give away other books in your genre. And so I'm going to touch upon both of these. Let's go on the second one. One way that you can build your email list is a giveaway where, let's say someone's a paranormal romance author. Okay. So even before you have a book out, you can start building a list of paranormal romance readers, and you can swap this out for any genre of your choice. So how would you do this? You could find 10 books on Amazon that are really popular paranormal romance books, and you set up a giveaway where one person is going to win a bundle of these 10 books. And I have a training on how to do this. The gist of it is you can create an image with the 10 book covers on it, and you can run Facebook ads and target people who are interested in those authors. Okay, now I don't know I don't know paranormal romance authors, but let's say it's horror, and I know Stephen King. Okay, so if it's a horror book bundle, and you include a book by Stephen King, I'm sure you can target Stephen King's fans on Facebook, for instance. Now what happens is people are entering in the giveaway, and you know that they're fans of this genre. You know, if you write in a similar genre and fans of those books would be fans of your book, now all of a sudden you're targeting them. Okay. So what this means is then as you build this list, you now are getting targeted people who like your audience, but only one person is going to win. Well, what happens to all those other people? Here's a great follow-up. Hey, you didn't win the giveaway. Would you like another book, another horror book or another paranormal romance book or another business book as a consolation, if you will? Now what happens is you can get beta readers or review readers for your book. Okay. This isn't theory. I've tested it. I've done it. I've gotten the actual reviews back from people who I had no prior relationship with. I only found them by running an ad to give away, in this case, it was productivity books. And I got people interested in productivity books. They joined the email list. There's only one winner of the bundle, but then other people said, yes, Derek, I'd like to check out your upcoming productivity book. They did and did it and gave me some great feedback. So you can do this in virtually any genre. Okay. So that's one way of doing it. Now, if you say you got disappointing results, who are you targeting? How are you doing it? And what are your expectations for a giveaway? I say that a giveaway is primarily, and I don't know if the results are the number of people on it. And I don't know if the results are just that the people aren't that good of quality, but I'll tell you that quality wise, You would not expect necessarily all that many book buyers necessarily. I mean, there's a certain percentage of people who will be willing to buy your book from a giveaway, but ideally giveaways are done. They're a much safer bet to get people who are going to get your book for free in exchange for a review or some feedback, things like that. So that's how I'd approach a giveaway, primarily to build an audience and of people who might be beta readers. So thank you for the question. How do you sell your books? That's an example, and I appreciate the question. Think about what kind of question that is. Everything I'm talking about with authorship is going to help you sell your books. So if you ask a broad question, how do you sell your books? Then the answer is going to be a broad answer. Write a book that people want and market them effectively. Now, if that doesn't help you, that's because it's a broad question, so it gets a broad answer. So is there a specific question you have in relation to selling books? But if you stick around, everything I'm going to be addressing today is going to help you in one way or another when it comes to selling books. When it comes to doing other giveaways, let's say author collaboration giveaways or things like that, it is going to be tricky to make yourself stand out because a lot of the people you're attracting there are just wanting to get stuff for free. So it's less about just go in understanding that, how you can leverage that. And so anything that you're doing with a giveaway, the idea is to, you got to warm them up. You got to show them why you're good. And you also just got to expect a large percentage of them aren't necessarily going to be book buyers. They might be better beta readers or people who could share your book or promote your book with others. Okay. So next question, how to actually be profitable as an author. Tons of services on, the how-tos of Facebook and AMS ads, launch strategies, but that's just knowing how and where to spend your money. But how do you actually make a profit? And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically this is a USA Today best-selling author. So we're not talking about someone who doesn't know how to sell books. Clearly, whoever sent in this question has been publishing for 3 years, had a good number of success, but still mostly broken even. So what's interesting is that for me, I'm like, that's interesting. Like the question which I cut off, or part of it was like, it seems like not a lot of people touch on this. I'm like, I don't know where people are learning from, but almost everything that I would study and put out has to do with being profitable. So what does this mean? It means if you're spending money on Facebook or Amazon ads and you're breaking even or taking a loss, that's okay, as long as you're building your audience. So where does the profit come in? Well, let's break down the ways to market your book in a nutshell. It's what I call the ASPIRE method. So ASPIRE is an acronym. A stands for ads. So yeah, you run ads, but you could take a loss or break even on ads. That's fine, so long as you're combining ads with the next pieces. So second piece is social media, which is generally free. So if you're doing effective social media strategies, then that wouldn't cost any money. I mean, I guess your internet connection, but that's free. The P is platforms. So that's things like going on podcasts. And I was talking to Joanna Penn, and she reminded me of how relevant podcasts are even for fiction authors and for children's book authors. And I'm nonfiction, so obviously nonfiction works as well there too. Going on podcasts is free. Okay. Maybe there's services out there you can pay for. Every time I've gotten on a podcast or help clients get on, it's through free methods, right? So that's free marketing. What about writing for publications? That's also free. Okay. So you have ASPI, influencers, connecting with other influencers. That's how I sold thousands of books through that way. That's also free. Okay. Now you're investing your time, and that's an important consideration, but it's not costing any money. R is getting readers to promote your book, which is also free. And E is email marketing, which you're just touching upon. And so the whole idea of running the ads is that you're building your email list. And then when you send an email, I mean, I guess it's not free. If you count, you got to pay a monthly fee for your email service provider, but it's not like it's necessarily costing money every time you hit send. Okay. So really, if you're spending money on ads and book promotion websites, that's important and that can be useful, but that's to get the ball rolling. Then you want to have the organic methods and then be utilizing these other promotional strategies, which aren't going to cost you anything. So the real simple answer is, once you've built up a big audience, hopefully through your email list, that's the primary way that you're going to push ongoing book sales at a profit. Once an author has thousands or tens of thousands of people on their email list, they can push a button and potentially move hundreds to thousands of copies of their books. Once you get to a certain point, that's possible. It's not saying it's a guarantee, but it's a potential possibility once you have a bigger email list. Okay, so focusing then shifting to email marketing. And then of course, the way you manage your ads, you can certainly manage ads in a way where you are making a profit by checking your read through rate. You might take a little bit of a loss on one book, but if you check how many people are reading through to your other books, what looks like a loss might actually be a gain, or cutting back, right, on the ad spend. The idea being you invest a little bit. Think about when people go to college, right? They might put in tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a college education, which is not necessarily in today's world always the best move, but bear with me. The idea is people invest that because they know there's at least a chance they can make that money off up on the back end. So yeah, you might invest initially in this, but once you build your audience, then you can market to them with low cost and sometimes free methods. The mistake that some authors make is that they're running ads, and I do this because I work with authors on their ads. They're running ads to a book that doesn't have a good email incentive in it. There's nothing inside the book for people to sign up for the email list, or there is something, but it's not that compelling. And I go, the primary thing with selling ads isn't just even necessarily to get the book sale, it's to build the audience. The book sale itself is not necessarily to sell the book, it's to build the audience. Most authors aren't going to make a lot of money on one book sale. It's possible. And by one book sale, I mean one book. It's usually because they have other books in a series, or for nonfiction authors, other things on the back end. So even selling a book isn't about selling a book. It's selling a book for some greater purpose. Okay. So again, I'm answering questions in a broad sense, and I wouldn't know specifically for this author what they have or haven't done, but you can take this idea and go, okay, if I'm selling all these books, the point of selling all these books is making sure they're signing up for my email list. So then that way you have something that you can market to them at a low cost every month. And that low cost is really just whatever it costs to have an email service provider. Okay, I'll see if a couple questions are popping in here. I can answer some of these too. Best strategies to sell my self-published book, called 5 Quick Ways to Stand Out from the Crowds and Succeed by Using the Power of Social Media to Position Yourself. Okay, 5, is that the entire title, or is there a subtitle in there? If that's not, if that reads like a subtitle, can you let me know that? Because the reason is you're going, well, I want to know the way to sell it. Well, first of all, if it doesn't have the title and subtitle locked in and on point, then nothing else I share with you is really going to matter. So that's an okay title. You might be able to work with it if that's a subtitle. That's quite a lengthy title, though. And what's the unique hook of this? So I wouldn't even be focusing on marketing strategies until the title and subtitle was locked in. And even if you've already published it, it could be worth revising that. And then let's see, we got your Spire method is brilliant. I appreciate it. I struggle to get those 8 first reviews. I ask family and friends, but they forget or don't have KDP. Where do we go for reliable reviews? Okay, so this was another question I was going to cover anyway on getting reviews. Well, the fact that you're watching this means you're in the Facebook group. And in the Facebook group, let me see where it's at. Actually, I think it's under the files section inside this group. You're going to see a strategy for getting reviews. And what I just covered at the start of the broadcast, if you didn't catch it, was running a giveaway to build your email list, and a giveaway of giving away other people's books, attracting your ideal readers. And then everyone who didn't win that, which is only one person wins this giveaway. And by giveaway, it's like, 10 print books that you'll ship to someone. And you don't physically ship it. You just send it through Amazon. So your family and friends are not going to be the best reviewers anyway. You want to be building an audience of people who are interested in the topic. So I use a small amount of Facebook advertising is one way of doing that. You could also do direct outreach if there's different groups, and going on podcasts, right? So everything, all roads lead back to one place. And it's kind of, if you look at the Aspire method, it's like the first letters all lead to this last letter, which is the final destination, and that's your email list. Okay, so if you were going on podcasts before your book is launching, or even now that it's out, because it is out, but that's fine. Before or after the book is out, you're going on podcasts, you're building your email list, and then from your email list is where you request for people who want to get a review copy of the book. As far as what do you say to them? How do you entice them to actually leave a review? That's where I have it actually all documented for you for free inside this group. And that's under, let me double check this here. I believe it's the files section. So yep, it's called Ultimate Review Strategy PDF within the files section. So check that out. What I'm going to give you is the basic answer to the question, but what if they forget or don't have KDP? Well, first of all, you can send people a PDF copy. It doesn't have to be the KDP copy. Sometimes you got to walk people through the steps though. Be like, here's where you can download. If they don't use KDP, just send them the PDF version. Okay. But what if they forget? And here's the thing. A lot of people will forget. And this is the challenge in that, especially if they're kind of doing you a favor, how do you motivate and incentivize people to actually go leave the review? And it's like, I don't want to keep annoying these people and be like, hey, did you leave a review yet? You leave that review. Can you go ahead and leave that review again? And it's like, you don't want to pester the people, right? So one of the strategies that you'll see there is you incentivize them to fill out a questionnaire. You do not want to incentivize people to leave a review on Amazon. That's against terms of service. But there's no reason you can't say, hey, if you fill out this questionnaire by such and such date, everyone who fills it out is going to get a $5 Amazon gift card, or you're going to be entered into a drawing for a $20 Amazon gift card. And or something I did, you're going to get the audiobook edition as a bonus, or you'll get some other bonus as whatever you need to do to incentivize people to fill out the questionnaire. Okay. Questionnaire could be an email that you send them, and you'll see the questions that I send inside that document. But basically, what are other kind of books that you check out? Where do you find books? This is important to know for your marketing. But what do you think about the book? What would you say to a friend who's considering reading this? And what you do is you get them to answer some questions. And one of the things that to understand psychologically is that some people are intimidated by the idea of leaving a review. It's this weird sort of pressure thing, like, oh, I got to make sure it's really good. But if you say, hey, would you answer a few quick questions? Would you be open to answering a few quick questions about the book? And it's simple questions. What do you think about the book? What would you say to a friend who's considering reading it? Now, when they're answering questions, the pressure's off. They don't even realize that they're leaving a review. Then what happens is after they send you back the answer by a deadline, because they've got to fill it out to get their prize or their incentive. Now what happens is two things. One thing is that you can just simply say, hey, I love what you had to say. Would you be open to me sharing this as a testimonial in my marketing? If they say yes, and every single person I've asked who's responded has said yes, you can now use that. Forget for a second about Amazon. You can use that in your emails. You can use that as an editorial review. You can use that if it's before your book is out. You can put that in the first blurb part of it. And you might have to move around things that they said and kind of synthesize a review out of all their, maybe they ramble a lot, but you can take it and you kind of piece together from their words and show them the final result and say, hey, would you be open to me sharing, these words that you put here as a testimonial in my marketing to inspire others to check out this book that you enjoyed? They'll more than likely say yes. I can't imagine why someone would even ever say no. Here's the second piece. You can say, hey, would you be willing to copy and paste what you wrote here? And again, format it out for them to make it easy as a review on Amazon. Insert the direct link to the Amazon review page. Now they can highlight, copy, and paste it there. You're not incentivizing them to do that, but most people will do that. Again, I've never heard someone say no to doing that. I believe it's 100%, at least if they responded, they said yes, and they went ahead and did that. So think about this. You're making it easy on them. You're giving them a reason to get the survey done by having a deadline and by having a prize. You're making it easy for them to get the review done because they're not writing a review. They're just answering some questions. Then you can take that and craft a review, and then you get their permission to use it as a testimonial, as well as just a very small request to take 10 seconds to highlight, copy, and paste this review on Amazon. It might not be a verified review. There's an extra step you can take for that. But first of all, it's okay if it's not a verified review. As long as they've spent $50 on Amazon, it'll still post. Second thing is you can give them a gift copy through Amazon or give them a gift card to pick up a copy. Okay. Third thing to note is family and friends, besides not being the best to ask for reviews just for multiple reasons and that they are oftentimes biased, it might get taken down as an Amazon review. I don't suggest you get reviews from family and friends. They are biased. I like the fact that Amazon doesn't have just family and friends reviewing things. When I read reviews, I want objective reviews. That being said, you can still take their review even from a family and friend and use it as an editorial review. And that's something that you can post yourself, and that is allowed by Amazon. Okay. So that is the overview of that, and you can see more details. So title and subtitle, if you can break apart how it's the title and the subtitle, that would help. Okay, so title, I gotcha. Perfect, thank you. Title is The Power of Social Media. The Power of Social Media. Whether that's the title or subtitle, that's I'd invite you to really think about the hook that you're going to use there, because that's not really saying much. And in today's, if this were 10 years ago, that might have been a hook that stands out. Today, it would likely just, a lot of people would overlook that if there's not really a sexy, interesting, unique angle to it. I spend more time coming up with the hook probably than I do just about anything else for a book. It's not an afterthought. It's the foundation of everything else that follows. How do you sell a book to raise money for charity? It'd be the same way you sell a book for anything else. But I will say, when it comes to raising money for a charity, part of what will happen is in your marketing, you want to tell the story of the, so the research that they did on this. So researchers found, how could you raise the most money for charity? And they wanted to test a few things. So one thing was they sent people a letter, and it was basically all the facts on the situation. So if it's the Rwandan orphans, it's, here's the facts of the Rwandan genocide. X number of people are without homes. This many people are lost their families. There's the X number of orphans in Rwanda. There's blah, blah, like fact. And they could be very significant facts, big numbers and all this sort of stuff. And it raised, $1 something on average per person. Then what they did is they tested a different type of letter. And in this letter, they told the story of one girl who was suffering as a result of whatever the condition was. So in this case, it's one girl or one boy who's an orphan. So the story of one orphan that people really connect with, and what their story is like, what they went through, what they're going through now. And people will connect with the one. And that raised, I believe it was over twice as much money on average. Now, what if you just combine the story and the facts? Money actually went down. Donations went down. A little bit better than facts alone, but not as much as just the power of the story. So you want to utilize the power of storytelling and find one orphan, at least, who you can really tell their story so people connect with one individual, and you use that to raise money and raise awareness about the book as well as the charity. Okay, so let me go back to some of the questions that were submitted here in advance. Okay, what's the wordage for a children's book ages 8 through 10? Okay, so I addressed this a little bit in my response to this author. I want to point out what I really can teach you here. The most empowering thing that I can teach you here is not an answer to a question like that. And a lot of you listening to this, vast majority of you are not going to care about what the wordage is of a children's book, ages 8 through 10. I want you to think about this question. What if I had an answer for you on that? Now, I don't know. I don't write children's book ages 8 through 10. So I don't know how I'd have an answer for that off the top of my head. But let's say I did. It would be a disservice for me to give you an answer to that. Here's why. I don't know your goals. I don't know what you're trying to do. First of all, is there one answer to that? Like, what am I going to say? Oh, it's got to be 7,422 words. Like, even if that was the average, so what? That doesn't mean anything. What are your goals? What are you trying to do? What kind of children's book is this? Okay. So here's the lesson for each of you as you're listening to this. A much more empowering thing would be to say, here's how you could find the answer to that. But even that isn't the most empowering thing to give you. I want you to think on a bigger level, because what I can do is I can show you how to find the average wordage in your genre, but that doesn't mean you necessarily want to write the average, right? You want to think what your strategy is. There's so much of a bigger picture thinking that you need to have. So I'm going to give you a practical answer. Then I'm going to come back and really focus on the real question to ask. If you want to know what the average word count is, it's simple. Go check out the top 20 books in your category, books written for children's 8 through 10. You see the top 20. You can look at how many pages they are. You can find the word count, and you can average it out. But so what? Does that mean it's what you're supposed to do? Of course not. Okay. So a lot of times people get caught up in like, how many pages should it be? What's the word count that it should be? And it's not to say those aren't ever relevant questions, but that's minutia and detail. First, you want to go, what's the purpose behind your book? So here's another, I mentioned the Aspire method. Here's the Power method. This is how to get clarity and reach your goals. You're trying to figure out the way, how many words and a detail. First you go, what's the purpose of this book? Because depending on your purpose, that might affect this. So what's the purpose of the book? And then what's the outcome that you want to have? Do you want to lead them to other books? Do you want them to have a very long book? Do you want it to be a shorter book? Right? You got to figure out the purpose of the book and the outcome that you're trying to go for. Then you figure out the details, which is the way. And then you set your environment up for success and you recalibrate. I'm not going to go deep into that, but that's power, purpose, outcome, way, environment, recalibration. So my answer to this question, I actually wanted to address it because some people are asking specific questions and it makes sense. I mean, hey, what if someone could just give you the answer? It could actually devastate you. Not just me. If you go to any expert and you go, I just want to not have to do my own research. I want them to just tell me what the answer is. Even if they could do it, they will never know your life and your business as well as you do. So think about that. But I'd be very cautious if someone gives you answers that are just direct answers as if they know what's best for you. Sometimes they do. Okay. I'm not saying there aren't ever situations where someone really just has the answer and it's a technical question and they go, here's the button you push, or here's the thing you need to use, or whatever, here's the code that you use on your website to do what. Okay. So sometimes there's definitive answers, but a lot of these types of questions are not definitive answers. They're answers that are going to be based on a lot of other factors. Okay. So that's the main point, and I could rant about this for a while, but I didn't want to get too into it. The more important thing is to go, why do you want to know the answer to that? Like, what's the word? I rarely, if ever, think about how many words or how many pages. I have a general idea, but again, my general idea comes from what's the outcome or purpose of this book. I want it to be a quick book that people can consume. Okay, so therefore I want it to be, less than an hour in length. Therefore, I want it to be less than 10,000 words. But if it's incomplete at 10,000 words, and I need to add an extra 1,000 words into it, I'm going to add the extra 1,000 words. But if 10,000 words is 3,000 words more than I actually need, then I'm going to cut the 3,000 words. You see how this goes? So you really got to be clear on what the outcome is that you want to achieve and why you want to achieve that outcome, because that's going to guide some of this little minutia sort of stuff. All right. Next question is some ideas for content, social media marketing for fiction authors during Corona would be very helpful. I don't want to bother my readers at this time, but I also want to engage them with content that respects the weird time we're living through. So the big reason I wanted to address this is because something jumped out at me, which is I don't want to bother my readers at this time, which is reflective of a mindset. First of all, very considerate of you to not want to bother readers. I think most of us, if we're decent people, we don't want to bother or annoy or pester people. So that's a good intention. It's also interesting, though, in that I never really think about that I'm bothering people, because my whole agenda is how am I going to deliver entertainment and value to people? So I know it might sound kind of like a cliche thing of, oh, you just got to give value. You just got to entertain people. Well, great, dude. How do I do that? Okay, well, I'll cover the how in a second. But before I get into that, it's really important to check this mindset and check where this attitude is coming from, because I've felt it myself. I felt like this, oh, I don't want to annoy people and I don't want to do this and that. But if you're coming from that place, it's always a what I don't want to do. What do I write that's going to not bother people? And that's hard for your brain to process. It's the whole don't think of a purple elephant. Well, as soon as you think that, you think of a purple elephant. You got to give yourself an alternative. So instead of how do I not bother people, the next part, which is good, you want to engage them with content that respects the weird time. Well, first of all, you're a fiction author. So what's the main value that you provide as a fiction author? Entertainment. And if you're a nonfiction author, you have a lot to learn from fiction authors, because most nonfiction people need to focus a little bit more on being entertaining with their content. So think, people come to you because they want to be entertained. I don't know what genre of fiction you write in, the person who submitted this, but know that people are coming to you because they want entertainment. So what will provide entertainment? Now, I can't, I could probably give some ideas, but it's more empowering, again, to not just give you an answer, but to show you how to find an answer for yourself. So here's a couple directions to head in. One is, if you're not already on people's email list, and this goes to the previous question, if you're aware of what your quote unquote competition is doing, and if you don't like the idea that they're competitors, it's just other authors in your genre, so many questions get answered when you're engaged in your genre. And what I mean by that is you're on other authors' email lists. If you're writing a children's book, to go back to the prior question, for children 8 through 10, I would hope you've read at least 5 other children's books in your genre for children 8 through 10. And if you've already read 5 other children's books, do you notice a pattern in the wordage? If you do, isn't that potentially showing you the answer? Or if you see that it's kind of all over the place in length, isn't that also kind of showing you an answer that maybe it's kind of up to you as to what you want to do? You see, so the more immersed you are in what people are generating and what they're creating, that's the inspiration. Okay. So as a fiction author, one thing that I see, it's like anecdotes about stuff that happened through your day. It's talking about how you're coming up with the characters, or how you're doing your research, or what do you find fascinating? And I don't know what it's going to be for your audience. That's the challenge. And that's where I don't have an absolute answer for you. But think about, if you're on fiction list, what are the type of emails and content that you engage with, or that get your attention? Not a guarantee it's going to resonate with your audience, but that's a good place to start. Then you can model that structure. Okay. So for instance, I saw a romance author, and I thought this was a really smart idea, where in one of her emails, she had like a picture from The Big Bang Theory, and it was like, caption this photo. And it was one of the characters, I don't remember. It's like one of the characters, spanking the other character, and it's like, caption this photo. And it was a competition. I thought that was, I would give the author credit if I remember who it was. That's a great example of like, oh, that's kind of fun, like a funny photo, and hey, you're going to do this caption contest, and we'll get to see what people are engaging with. And people want, not just during coronavirus, during basically all periods of time, human beings want entertainment. They want escape. They want to get out of thinking about all the stress of day-to-day life. So that's just one example. Could you do, and obviously you don't take the exact type of thing that they were doing, the exact caption, but could you do a caption contest? Okay. But I'm not telling you go to a caption contest. I'm telling you, be aware of what other authors are doing, and then go, okay, I see how they're providing entertainment. And then that can generate your own ideas. And the best ideas are going to come from you, because you're going to know your own audience, and you're also going to know what you like to do and what you like to talk about. Okay, I would like to know steps for getting beta readers. So I've already covered that. Should I get an editor? Where should I get an editor? If people want recommendation, I got a few questions about editors and cover designers. So you can message me if you want that. I even think inside the Bestseller Secrets group. Let me look here. Yeah, so many of your questions, do I provide it in here? I was going to say, I have an editor I can recommend. Yeah, so you can message me for editor recommendations. But readsy.com is also a place that you can find editors and cover designers and things like that. 99 Designs also can do book covers there, and I have a cover designer I can recommend. Okay, so I, just like everyone else, want my marketing dollars to go further. So when I'm creating Amazon ads or Facebook ads or even BookBub ads, I need a bridge to capture the reader who's more likely to enjoy my stories than, say, someone who likes straight up historical fiction. So I think there's a previous part where they were saying they enjoy a blend of genres. Imagine many authors cross genres, how to reach specific niche audience when they're merged group of what they would enjoy reading. Okay. I might have missed some of that question, but this is a test and see process. So on BookBub, for instance, you can test individual authors and see which ones convert better for you. Same thing, you'll kind of see that with Amazon ads and actually Facebook ads. So you test individual authors to see which ones resonate. And then you can start to combine authors and genres and stuff like that. But I'm going to give you another quick way of doing this. And this also goes back to your research phase. And that is, are you talking to your readers to see where they find books and what other authors they read? And I can tell you, like, how did the content for this come about? I'm role modeling things for you. Now, part of it is I really was curious. I'm like, what I want to talk about, I don't know. Let me just ask my audience. Okay. But in doing so, I also realized that I'm showing you an example that you can just ask your audience. And it's not just what content do you want? It's going, hey, so where do you find new books that you read? Hey, what are the other authors that you read? A question I asked many of you a while back was, what are the podcasts you listen to? And I saw predominantly many people, more than any other podcast, was Joanna Pinn's podcast. Joanna Pinn of Creative Pin, and it's a great podcast. I go, oh, that's good to know, right? But I saw other podcasts that, and all I had to do was ask. Like sometimes it's just that simple. You ask your audience. Well, Derek, what if I don't have an audience? Derek, I don't have an email list to survey. I get questions like that. There are groups, and you can go into a group. Don't go in groups just trying to sell stuff. But if you go into a group and be like, hey, how do you find new paranormal romance books to read? Hey, how do you find new thriller books to read? Or you just study the group, right? People are sharing things already. And if you ask your audience, a lot of them are willing to share. In fact, if you just find one person who is your ideal reader and you can hop on a Zoom call with them for 20, 30 minutes and interview them, if you got to pay them, hey, I'll give you a $20 Amazon gift card, a $50 Amazon gift card, just to ask you questions. I got nothing to sell you. I'm just doing market research in my business. Hey, this coach guy named Derek told me that I should interview my readers, or that it was a good idea. Use me as an excuse. I was wondering, would you be willing to hop on a Zoom call to help me do some research for my author business? Right? Like, it can be that simple. And then you can ask these questions about how you find new books. What are the authors that you read? All of these things. And they can tell you how they're finding books. What are the podcasts that they're listening to? What are the blogs that they're reading? Do they find stuff on BookBub, or did they find it through Facebook? What are the, so on and so forth. And so you can really just go to your readers or your would-be readers, your prospective readers, and ask them. Okay, so that's the main point that I wanted to make with that. And then it's also a test and see process. So when it comes to ads, you throw a lot of spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks. All right, let's see. We got another question from Robert. CJ, what are your thoughts on using platforms like Draft to Digital? I use it. It's good. I had an issue with them at a KDP thing, Kindle Unlimited thing, where the book, I'm not going to get into that. But overall, I've been happy with them. So I've used Draft to Digital and I've used Smashwords, and both of them work pretty well. All right, let's see. We're at 40 minutes in. I'll probably go at least another 5 to 20 minutes here. I want to wrap it up within the hour point here. Okay, so what advice would you give to those who want to drive traffic away from the Amazon Kindle Behemoth to other platforms? The answer for this is going to be the same answer I give to a lot of things: email. All roads lead back to your email list. Once they're on your email list, you can send them wherever you want to send them. Well, how do you get to the email list? Go back to the Aspire method. You can run ads to your email list. You can do social media outreach. So, hey, I'm giving away this new book. Would anyone be interested? Comment below, interested. So you give away whatever your free thing is. Hey, I just put together this blank. Would anyone like a free copy? You just sign up for my email list, comment below and I'll send you the details. Right? Whatever it is. So ASP platforms, that's the main way. Probably it's a slower, but it's probably the most high quality subscribers are going to come from things like podcasts and publications. Then you have influencers to cross promote things, and you can also build your email list like that. So all things are going back to email list. From your email list, you can drive traffic wherever you want. And what do you do about collecting state sales tax on ebook products? Well, I live in California, and I'm not an attorney or an accountant or anything like that. So nothing I'm saying is legal advice, and I don't have the answer to that. What I do know is that if I'm selling on my own platform like ThriveCart, if I'm selling digital products, I'm in California, and the California law, unless it's changed, is that it's not taxable. But if you're selling over different places, I really don't know the answer to that. I just leave that up to my accountant, and I'm not going to even pretend to give advice on that. What I can say is that there are some checkout carts, like I use ThriveCart, and ThriveCart does have an option to collect tax. I think it does some automated stuff, but don't hold me to that, if it'll automatically calculate tax. But I know that there's an option that I haven't used, but it's there to be able to collect tax. So that's going to be your checkout service, would be able to do something like that. Okay, with limited time and budget, how do you choose the best medium to build your email list? YouTube, Facebook ads, Facebook group posts, Twitter, etc. First of all, you got to go, where's your ideal audience hanging out the most? I don't do as much stuff on Instagram, even though it's huge, and I might be missing out on a giant market there. But Instagram is generally a younger audience. And for what I'm doing, like if I want to target executives for corporate consulting, what do you think is going to be better? Even if you don't know anything about corporate consulting, what do you think is going to be better? Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn? Okay. Just intuitively. Now, granted, you want to maybe validate this and go with more than just your intuition, but LinkedIn is going to make more sense. Why? That's where the prospects hang out. So that's the first thing, is where are your prospects? There's also balanced with, what do you enjoy? What platform do you understand? So there's something about it's kind of like with diets. Okay. There's what the ideal diet is for your body, nutrition wise. And then there's also kind of like what's practical. What can you actually enjoy eating? What will you actually stick to in terms of your daily habits and your dietary habits? And so it's not always just about what's the perfect thing, if you will. It's also the psychology, the psychological angle. So where do those overlap? And that's something, again, why be cautious of what experts say, including myself, when it comes to this is the place to be. Maybe it works for them. Maybe it works for some other authors. But like, do you enjoy making videos? Doesn't mean you have to be on the videos, but if you're going to go on YouTube, you're going to at least need someone making videos. It could be like a whiteboard video, or it could be a text-based video. It could be a PowerPoint video where you're not, again, your face isn't on the video, but somehow you got to construct a video if you're on YouTube. You might not need to do that if you're on Facebook. Although I will say this, video is big. More and more people are going to, like, if you're not in video as an author, this includes fiction authors, for some very good stats in terms of sales generated from video from at least one fiction author. And I would quote the stats if I had it, but this was like a year or so ago. But what I do believe is that regardless of what genre you're in, if you can do more with video, and if you can learn to do video, especially where it's you and your presence, that's going to give you a competitive advantage, and more people are going to be consuming that. So that's a side note. But let's just say, Derek, I absolutely don't want to do video. Okay, well, clearly that actually helps you eliminate options, which is a good thing. If you're overloaded with options, the fact that you can say, that's not my area of strength. So maybe I'll come back to that later. But for now, I'm going to focus on what I know, what I'm more comfortable with. So I'm going to give you a few ideas to play with. What are you good at? Like, what's the platform you're good at? What do you have fun with? What are you going to stick to? I'm going to stick to email, much easier than I'm going to go and post on Facebook every day. I might lose sales on Facebook because of that, but I'm going to gain sales in email because it's my stronger suit. And then I can take emails and just post it on Facebook, whatever I wrote in my email, right? So find the place that you're going to thrive. And then also, where's your audience at? Okay. So there's an intersection between these things, and that'll help you narrow down where you can focus on. When does transforming your book into an online course make sense? For many people, it's actually before they publish the book. But that's not everyone. So if you can have a course ready to go right when your book comes out, great. Even if you have a course before the book comes out. So what I'll probably do for my next book is I'm going to take my course, and then from the course, I might create a book or two actually that comes from the course, and use that as at least a lead magnet or a low price entry into the course, or a synthesis of what's in the course. So you might create the course first and then extract the book from the course. You might write the book and then build out the course from that. So I know for the person asking this question, based off the way it's phrased, they sounds like they already have a book now and they want to transform it into a course. But I'm just making some notes here for everyone that you get this idea. You can start either or. You could also choose to publish the book, build your email list from the book, and launch the course later. I can't tell you what exactly is going to be best for you or when that best time is. I'll tell you that with one of my coaching clients right now, for instance, she's working on a book. She's also going to want to do a course. And the question comes up, do I get the course done before the book launches? And we're working through it, and it's kind of like, it depends. How many other things do you have on your plate? If waiting to get the course done is going to take a long time, go ahead and get the book out there, start building your audience, and then you'll have an audience to launch the course to when it's ready. Or build the audience, and then you have an audience where you can sell the course before you even build it, and then you create the course with people already enrolled. Okay. And you're going, well, Derek, just give me the answer. You're giving me all these options. Yeah. There's options, and it's going to depend if you really, I'm not here to pitch coaching, but get a coach. Doesn't have to be me. Get someone who can help you work through this, because there's higher level strategy and goals that you need to figure out. Again, what's your purpose and outcome before you figure out when it's going to make sense to do a course. Okay. The one thing I'll say about this though, that might help is you can go as elaborate or as quick with a course as you want. What if all the course was saying, hey, come on a call just like this, Zoom or a Facebook Live through StreamYard. I'm going to teach for an hour or two. We'll do this for a couple days. Over the course of a couple days, we'll record it, and that's a course. Like, you might actually be able to create a course quicker than you can create a book. So depending on what you want to do with it, a course could be created fairly quickly. And if that affects things, then you might be able to just, why not just get it done right away and go ahead and do it. So depending on your goals, I will say a lot of people's, we're talking mainly nonfiction here. You can generate usually significantly more money from a course. So quicker you want to make money, usually having a course is a good idea. I don't have a course for every one of my books because I focus primarily on authorship, but then I do affiliate offers and things for other stuff, right? So there's different ways that you can leverage this. But whatever your focus is, whatever you really want to help people with, if you don't have a course, get at least a minimum viable course out there. I would say generally it's going to be better sooner rather than later. But it depends on your goals. That being said, think about how, if you could do this, gun was put to your head and you had to do it in a day, you could probably find a way to get a course done in a day. Okay, we got a question that popped in here. Are joining Facebook promo groups effective? I get the impression that there are more authors than actual readers in these groups. I've gotten that impression too. I really wouldn't bank on a Facebook promotion group resulting in much, if any, sales. Not to say there's harm in posting in them. That's not really going to be, there could be an exception to that. I mean, maybe there's some fantastic Facebook promotion group out there where people that post in it are getting all kinds of sales from it. I wouldn't bank on it, though. I wouldn't make that rely on that. So when some people say, man, I'm posting in all these Facebook groups and I'm not getting sales, I'm like, yeah, that's not surprising. That's just pure blind luck if you get something from one of those groups, because it is a lot of people. The people who are in the group are basically people there typically that and yes, this can very much be true. Why is it not letting me hide this? Yep, creating a course much faster than writing a book definitely can be. Definitely can be, especially you do a screen share, you'll work with someone. It can be quicker, and it can also be perceived as a higher value. Remember, people will tend to pay for your time and your attention. So that's a big value of a course, especially if you're answering questions and you're guiding people through a process. That's a big value of course. So it's kind of the blend if you're offering kind of a mix of coaching with the course. But even if you're just doing recordings, you can oftentimes get a course done even quicker. All right. We'll go another few more minutes here, wrap it up around the hour point. I'm just starting to figure out who my real target audience is. I've gone to a few online forums, learned who I thought my reader isn't. Okay. I don't yet have an email list to survey actual readers, so that's not a route I can take. How do I regroup and start all over again? Well, I don't read questions as they are. This is a deeper idea, although it's important to point out. Most of the time, including myself, I do this. A person does not ask the question that they need to ask. If you were asking the right questions, you probably would have already found the answer. And I don't know how deep I want to go with that. But another way of putting it, something a mentor shared with me, is the problem is you think the problem is the problem. Right? Whatever you think the problem is isn't really the real problem. If someone goes, I don't know how to set up a Facebook ad. Well, that's not a problem. Like, okay, how is that a problem? Who does know how to set it up that you could hire? Do you have access to a library that has free books? Could you read an article on it? Like, that's not in and itself a problem. You see, like if you ask yourself, well, who knows how to do this? Who can I hire to do this? Well, I don't have the money. How could I generate the money? How can I learn how to do this? What do I need to, like, you see what I'm saying? But people tend to get stuck at a certain level, again, myself included. And therefore we get stuck in the problem and we ask a question, and not to say the questions people ask aren't ever valid. A lot of these questions are valid, but it's like, I'm always kind of coming back to this idea. It's like, that's not the real question though, or that's not the question that's going to give you the answer that you really want. So why am I setting all this up? It's to say a couple things. I don't have an email list to survey actual readers, so that's not a route I think I can take. Well, you might not think you can take it. However, as I just mentioned earlier, you can, first of all, you can build an email list even before you have a book out. So then you can survey them. So I'm a little lost as to how that's an issue. And then you're saying, how do I regroup and start all over again? So here's the real thing. How do I regroup and start all over again? What makes you think you ever need to start all over again? This, I know I get a bit philosophical with this, but none of us are ever starting all over again. We're always building upon our past. Okay, so even to just take a moment, talk about, okay, it's coronavirus, many people's livelihoods, they feel like everything that they know has been stripped away. But let's just take, when I got into writing books, everything I knew about, okay, I'm a rock guitar player. Now I'm writing books. Different world, right? Not really. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of differences, but everything I learned about composing music, a lot of those lessons and principles I can apply to writing a book. What does this mean for you? Your entire past up to this point has lessons and insights that you're carrying forward with you. You never have to start all over again. And I know it's just a figure of speech. Okay. When you ask the question, it's not picking it apart or anything. It's just to say that there's a psychology behind every way that you phrase a question. I'm a word guy. I'm a language and psychology and how it all affects things. So even asking the question, how do I start all over again, is presupposing this idea that you need, like, what if you don't start all over? What if you actually have a lot of the answers that you need to have? And figuring out your target audience, this is the thing. Knowing who your ideal reader isn't is very good insight to figure out who your ideal reader is. So here's a lesson that I wanted to teach, and I'm glad it came up in this context. Sometimes going, who is my ideal reader? It might be hard to answer that question. So you flip it. Who is not my ideal reader? So I'm going to take what you can do. This is an exercise for each of you. Take someone that you know, and it can be random. You're not even trying to figure out if they're an ideal reader or not. I'm going to take my mom. Okay. I know my mom well. Okay. So then I do a cross check of, is my mom an ideal reader for insert book? And I'm going to go, I'll take one of my first books, 50 Fitness Tips You Wish You Knew. Is my mom an ideal reader for this book? How is she and how is she not? Okay. Is this the perfect book for her? Now, here's the thing. My mom wanted to lose weight, get in better shape. So yeah, there's a lot of tips in there that'll help my mom. And there's tips in there that'll help anyone about meditation and mindset and so on and so forth. But she's not an ideal reader. How do I know this? Well, I start to ask myself these questions. Okay, what do I talk about in the book? And I could go section by section. I go, well, there's a lot of stuff in there about how to purchase supplements. Okay. And by the way, this applies to fiction too. So get the principle of what I'm saying here. So talk a lot about supplements and how to purchase supplements at a discount. Okay. Now go back to my mom. How would this be relevant to my mom? Well, she might find it interesting, but she doesn't even really know how to order something on Amazon. Like I have to order her stuff on Amazon at times. Then I go in there and I talk about community supported agriculture. My mom is not going to go to a local farm to get her food. Okay. Then I talk about exercises at home. And my mom's not going to do that. If my mom wants an exercise program, it needs to maybe be on a DVD, or she needs someone to work out. It needs to be an in-person thing. So I can start to cross-check it and I go, so my mom's not an ideal reader, but here's where the magic happens. Why is she not an ideal reader? Well, she's not going to do home workouts. Okay. So my ideal reader is someone who I think can get at least 90% of 80 to 90% of value out of the book. I'm not expecting 100%. But I want someone who 80 to 90% of the book is highly relevant to them. My mom can read it, buy it, enjoy it, not even just because I'm her son, but she'll probably get some takeaways from it. She could be a reader who enjoys it, but an ideal reader? No. But by knowing she's not an ideal reader, I can flip it and I can go, well, she's not going to do these home workouts. So my ideal reader probably is into home workouts. They're probably someone who likes to buy supplements, gets a lot of supplements online. Okay, so now they're kind of into the whole biohacking thing. So they probably would they identify as a biohacker? Yeah, kind of to a degree. They'd probably also already be into personal development, meditation, because they touch upon a lot of those topics. So it wouldn't be their first exposure, although maybe they haven't done a lot of it. And I'm figuring out more and more clarity on who my ideal reader is by seeing who my ideal reader is not. Okay. Well, how does this apply? Let's take it to romance. Okay. One of my romance author clients, she gets frustrated. You can go by the negative thing where it's like one of the books that she doesn't like to read is if the heroine is just really weak. Weak women who are just kind of helpless or whatever, and that bothers her. So she has her stories in her books where these strong women heroines in the book. Okay, so that's an indication. By seeing what she doesn't like and what bothers her, she flips it, not only understands her own writing, but now understands that her ideal readers are going to be people who resonate with that. Her ideal readers are going to be the ones who are like, do you get annoyed by these books that have like these really weak women in it? And it's like, yeah. And don't you wish you had a book that had like strong, empowered women who are in that, like, yeah, okay, great. That's giving you direction. So sometimes you look at what bothers the readers or what won't be a match in order to find what will be a match. Okay. I can go so much deeper. That might just, maybe that makes total sense. Or maybe you're like, I kind of get it, but I'm not totally sure. That's cool too. I just want that to kind of percolate. I want you to marinate on this idea that if you're having some clarity on who your ideal reader is not, you just assume that automatically means you know something about who your ideal reader is. Because how would you know they're not an ideal reader unless you had some criteria there? Okay, I'll give one more example. It comes down to values. So if I go, what do you look for in a job? And you might say, I want to have a steady paycheck. Why is that important? Well, I like security, a sense of security. Okay, great. So security is a value for a person in a job, if that's how they answered. And they might come up with a few things that they value in it. Another way to find values is to go, what would have you leave a job? I go, well, if I had like coworkers who were really like, if I had a boss who asked me to do unethical things, so ethics are important to you. You find the value by seeing what would violate that value. So you find the ideal reader sometimes by figuring out who's not the ideal reader and then going, why weren't they the ideal reader? So you can bounce back between like positive and negative in order to figure out and hone in on the ideal reader. Okay. So that, if that made sense, you can give me like a make sense if you're still here, or what you took away from that. We got lost volume. I don't know if anyone else can hear my volume at this point. Hope you can. So feel free to share, comment below right now, or as you're watching this replay, what was your biggest takeaway, your number one takeaway from today? I have more. I'm not going to go through all the questions. There'll be more lives. There'll be more emails, more content videos coming for you. If you've been on my email list for a while, it's just about every day I'll be sending you stuff. So I want to thank you for showing up. If you're here live, I want to thank you for watching this. You're watching the replay. I want to thank each of you who sent in your questions and for engaging. And as we wrap it up here, we got great info. Awesome. Makes sense. Makes sense. So we got the make sense. Please let me know what your number one takeaway is from today. That will also, hint, hint, potentially give me some insight into things that we could cover deeper, right? So I briefly touched upon some of these things, but any one of these questions that I answered could have been a whole hour-long presentation unto itself. So I know that there's a lot more depth that you can go through for any of these topics. Thank you again. Wishing you the best. Take care.